Alright, you guys, it's time to start the stream. What am I doing today? Today I am illustrating some art advice that I thought of the other day. Um, I myself am full-time doing art, and I've only just started. So I quit my job last year, and I started to work, or at least invest my full-time effort into creating art. And this all seems like a very romantic notion because you hear about quitting your job and following your passion, and you hear all of the timely advice like save money and set yourself up a bit more and do things before you actually quit your job. And for me, I did my best. I kind of had a transition phase of, I mean, let's be honest, I had a transition phase of 6 years where I knew that I didn't really want to be doing software engineering, which is what I had been doing before. And I don't know, I guess I always had an inkling that I always would be doing something a bit more creative. But there are some pitfalls to that. There's some pitfalls to quitting your job and following your dream. And it's difficult. It can be really difficult because you hear a lot about people doing it and being successful. In fact, you hear a lot of people who become overnight successes when they quit their job and they follow their dreams. But the reality is that you're not going to hit that level of success with any kind of high probability. It's more likely that you're going to struggle for a while, and it's pretty likely that no one's going to actually notice your stuff. And that's kind of in the situation that I'm in, especially being an artist who's only really started promoting himself since January this year, which is, less than 2.5 months. Um, Sometimes I need to remind myself that I have to keep my expectations in check and, not kind of expect overnight success, which is what a lot of the people you hear about in the news, in the blogs, in all of the YouTube channels and the videos, people aren't really overnight successes. People tend to have a lot of tough times, and then they eventually become a success. And when you hear about that success, that is the point where all of their work and all of the stuff that they've done to build up to that point finally comes to fruition. Now, I know there's not much happening on screen, but that's because I'm trying to talk and do stuff at the same time. So, yeah, so I'm just going to do a little panel kind of sketch. It's just well, it's a format that I saw on Instagram the other day. It's by Wowo Comics, I think that's his or her name. And basically, instead of putting all of your panels on one page, which is kind of what Tapas Comics, Tapas IO or Webtoons would have you do, instead on Instagram you can have the user flick through the multiple images, and each image is kind of a standalone on its own. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here. That's what I'm going for with this one here. It's going to change the size. So you're an artist, huh? This is where we all kind of start. I think a lot of creative people just have an inkling that they're going to be creative. And, no one really chooses to be an artist. I mean, a glamorous, it's not a glamorous profession in any sense because you don't have any guarantee of income and you don't have any guarantee of clients even. It would be nice to even have people looking at your work, but even that's not guaranteed in this day and age. And so I've kind of done the script beforehand. I kind of knew what my message was going to be, and that was basically to give budding artists or people who think they want to get into art and switch from a different career, just kind of a few warnings. Not really to discourage anyone, because I think the more artists, the better. So, if anything, these are just kind of realistic warnings of what you should expect if you're gonna be switching your if you want to be switching your career, or if you're going to jump into the deep end by becoming an artist, then here's some things that you need or should know. But like I said, an audience is not guaranteed, and if anything, this is going to be advice for me to look at, because sometimes I do kind of question whether I made the right choice. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing that has to keep me going, right? Like if no one's going to be listening to me talk, or if no one's going to be looking at my art, then I at least want to be making art for myself, something that I can look at in the future and that I can be proud to have made, or to even remind me just why I'm doing this, why I decided to come down this path. Yeah, and sometimes I ask myself, what kind of credibility do I have giving out art advice, right? I mean, I'm not a self-made, well, not yet anyway. I'm not self-made, I'm not successful in any kind of um, metrics, really. But I know I have a talent and I know I have an ability to create, so I will continue to do that. Now, I'm so sorry, I'm just gonna quickly check up on the YouTube stream because I'm using a new streaming service called Restream.io, and this will stream to Twitch, to YouTube, and to a whole bunch of other services. At the moment, I've only got Twitch and YouTube going, but I don't have the YouTube chat open. I will be right back. And I'm back. So, sometimes you might worry about not making the bills. In fact, you might struggle sometimes and regret not taking the well-trodden path. That is, of course, referring to Robert Frost's well-known poem about the two paths that you can take in life, the well-trodden one and the not so well-trodden one. And I feel like a lot of artists and creatives do take the one not well-trodden, because so much of what we what we learn when we're growing up is to become an employee and become someone who works for someone else, and also in a vocation that's not artistic and not creative. So, yeah, I really want to emphasize just how lonely it can be to be an artist. But of course, the overall message of this is going to be positive because, again, I don't want to discourage anyone from not becoming an artist. I'm just going to put my script in here. I'm sorry if I'm not speaking much. I just want to get this down so I can start actually drawing. But just know you can still make a living from your art, from your craft. You'll have to work hard for it. Just saving all of this, yeah, all of the stuff that's on screen now. Now, Clip Studio is really great because it can organize everything into one project. There's no kind of saving individual files. Um, well, yeah, of course they're being saved as individual files in the background, but when you press save on Clip Studio Pro on an illustration or comic project like this, it's actually going to do all of that in the background. And so I don't need to individually save and name every single one of these things. All right. So you're an artist, huh? Congratulations. Here's some things you should know. And I just want to draw my character here because he represents who I am and kind of the caricature of me being an artist. So I want to draw me with a kind of with this gesture, him holding a beret, because that is my visual language for communicating an artist. And a mustache, something like that. And his chest is going to be up, out and proud. Yeah, just a loose sketch like that. That will do for the draft. And because I'm doing 7 of these illustrations, I really don't want there to be much complexity in there, because this is the equivalent of doing 7 comic panels on one page. I really don't want to go all out and fully illustrate everything, because I want this to be done within reasonable time as well. It's really just some small sketches to kind of get down the idea of what it's like to be an artist and what you can look forward to yeah, once you decide to go down the path of being an artist. Ba-ba-bum. All right, I'm going to be changing the width of my pen to something a bit more final. Also, I want to be centering the image a little bit more. Yep, that's fine. Oops. Choose the right layout. Okay. Now I kind of want to remember not to fully um, make all the lines super clean, because I do want this to be a bit sketchy. And I don't think I found the right brush yet in Clip Studio, but yeah. It's one reason I really much prefer doing my art traditionally, but I currently don't have a very good webcam, so hi, Blazing Phoenix! Welcome to the stream. Oh, that's terrible. Oh dear. Let's do that again. Now, yeah, if this was traditionally done, I'd probably be done with this probably in 2 minutes. But because it's digital, I have this kind of desire to change and edit everything until it's perfect. And yeah, that's just one thing that happens with digital art, I think. or it's at least a switch that I need to make because I quite like the sketchiness of my original lines, but because of the ability to change things, then it just makes it so much easier to fix everything. And the drawings just end up looking a bit too overworked. I need to find the right brush, to be honest. Just one that emulates that kind of Quentin Blakey um, scratchy line, but without the stabilization that you get with a digital pen. Okay, I'm going to do all of the line work first, and then I'll start working on the actual, maybe some shading, maybe some color, but I don't want to be putting too much work into it. Yeah, sure thing, Blazing Phoenix. I'm going to open the next one now. So the first panel, so you're an artist, huh? Congratulations. Here's some things you should know. Panel 2. Sometimes you might feel alone, because it might seem like nobody is doing what you're doing. Panel 3. Sometimes you might worry about not making bills. The bills. Come on, Clip Studio. In fact, you might struggle sometimes and regret not taking the well-trodden path. No, regret's a pretty strong word, and think about. And it might seem like nobody's looking, listening, or watching, no matter how much you post. But just know, you can still make a living from your craft. You'll have to work hard for it. You'll learn to paint when nobody's watching, and entertain a crowd of none, all while doing what it takes to keep your passion going. But at the end of the day, you're still an artist, so keep creating and never give up. And that's the strip in its entirety. Let me go back to... As I mentioned before, this was inspired by, well, the format, sorry, not the actual strip itself. The format was inspired by, I think, Wowo Comics on Instagram, where they had single images and you just scroll to the left and to the right to get between them. Oh, nice. Yeah, and the idea for the actual comic just came from, I mean, I admittedly had a bit of a panic attack the other day just thinking about the job that I left behind in order to do this, to give me the time to actually work full time as an artist. And I haven't made it. I haven't made any money from my art. But yeah, I had identified that, I had some talent and people had told me that my art was good, so I wanted to try it anyway. I can always go back to developing software if I really need to. Now, in this panel, I just want to emphasize the loneliness that can come with being an artist, or I mean, the strip can be for any kind of creative, to be honest. It doesn't have to be about art exclusively. I mean, just imagine being an actor or being a writer, just how lonely that can be. Don't have any experience there myself, but I imagine it's not easy trying to make, trying to be an actor. I don't know, there's probably more jobs for it. then I'm looking at the television screens. Um, yeah, rather than, people on TV, they've made it, let's just be honest. But imagine being someone starting from scratch, planning a career move. How are you going to get into the theater industry when you're 30? And I'm turning 30 this year myself, and I'm switching from the software industry to the art industry. I mean, I sound kind of negative on the software industry, but it's not true. There's a lot of good going on there, but it just wasn't really my thing. And that doesn't mean that I'm never going to do it again, because one day I'm going to run out of funds, and then I'm not going to be able to support myself if I still don't have any art clients. And that's okay, because I can still go back and do something else. The main thing is that you do what you have to do in order to sustain your passion, right? So I used to think that going into full-time employment was a state of failure, or a state of I'm sorry, I'm just trying to design and draw and talk at the same time, and it's not really, I'm not used to it. Um, so let me get this thought out. Oh, my mind's blanked. Right, yeah, job. A full-time job isn't a state of failure for me anymore, even though sometimes I feel like it should be, because it means I'm not spending 40 hours of my work week painting and drawing. But if that full-time job sustains me in getting my healthcare paid, in paying for my bills, my rent, to keep the lights on, to pay for more art supplies that I can use and experiment with, then that's not a failure. That's just something that you have to do. That's reality, and you might have to do that if it means being able to continue pursuing your passion. So, yeah, not not a big deal. I think if I had to sell myself and commit to kind of a company culture, then yeah, okay, I could see myself being very upset and not feeling very fulfilled like that. But that's why I wouldn't be applying for a CEO job or anything like that. I'd be I'd be an employee. Blazing Phoenix, that's awesome. I think that's the best way to kind of, I think that's the only way that we can share our experiences, because we're all human. We all have separate experiences, and yeah, I think that's a really great thing. So this is very intentional of me. I'm trying to design characters in the background that are not circular, that are very angular edges. And yeah, it's very abstract, but like, did you know there are so many ways to add contrast? I'm gonna pull up his YouTube channel right now. I forget his name. One second. Marco Bucci. Marco Bucci. Anyway, I went through he's got a 10 minutes to better painting series, and just hearing him talk about all of the ways you can cause or intentionally create contrast in your drawings is insane. And one of those is shape, right? This is the whole reason that um, correct. One of them shape, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm just creating more angular characters here who are not seeing very, not seeming very happy at their jobs. I think I've run out of shapes. Uh, one more. This might seem like, okay, this is probably very subconscious, but I've drawn all of these full-time employees, office employees, and they're all quite unhappy, aren't they? I think this reveals a bit of my psyche. Oh dear. Okay, so I've got this layer on lower opacity as well because I want my character here to stand out rather than the background. So let's move that a little bit. And I forgot my character's mustache. So I'll put that in right now. Hey, that's awesome. How are you finding university? I admittedly didn't learn art at university. I learned software engineering, but I must say university was one of the happiest times of my life. It was very, very rewarding, very taught me some discipline. And I had considered going back to university to study art, but I don't know, I feel like I'm a bit too old. I feel like I'm definitely beyond. Well, not that people can't go to uni when they're 30 years old, but for me, I don't know, I've already started earning in the workforce as a software developer, and yeah, I've had that taste, and I don't want to go back to being a student. Also, I don't think I do very well with exams and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, Let me tell you what, once I got into the actual workplace, I realized that I didn't have to remember a lot of facts and a lot of formulae and a lot of just little tidbits because especially in the software industry, you can kind of look up everything online and everything that I'd memorized in university for my exams and for my tests, that really just didn't matter in the end. It really didn't matter. But an art education, wow, I mean, that would be so useful. Oh boy, Clip Studio, come on. I'm setting my reference layer and I'm using the fill tool. There we go. Um, so this caption here is a bit long. I might take out the bit about thinking about taking the well-trodden path. I'm not sure how many people would actually get that reference to Robert Frost. Probably, I don't know. I don't know. It's not up to me to decide what other people will take away. Mm, okay, so I'm thinking of a concept for this particular panel, and I think just someone paying the bills or going through the budget at his desk is going to be the right thing. Right, so just a nice sketch. Hello, Domestabot Gaming. Uh-oh, Clip Studio. Apologies, my Clip Studio just had a stutter. Then, keep reminding myself to actually save regularly with Control S because Clip Studio, well, I don't know. Probably not Clip Studio's fault. Center this a little bit more. And that'll do for that one. Has anyone actually owned one of these bill machines? You see it so much in the sitcoms where they're trying to do their bills for the month, and I've never actually seen one. I don't think I've ever owned one either, or seen anyone who had owned one. But, it communicates the idea enough, and that's what matters. Alright, next panel. Sorry, a little bit of cleanup. And then a touch of color. Well, moustache. Okay, next. Oh, that's cool. Do you know what they're actually called? Bill machines? Printer machines? And it might seem like nobody's looking, listening, or watching, no matter how much you post. I don't know. I think this is an issue that a lot of people in this day and age have. If you were an early adopter of YouTube or of Twitch, you probably had it pretty easy to get a lot of eyes on what you're doing. But I feel like today a lot of people are doing the streaming, a lot of people are doing the podcasts, a lot of people are doing the YouTube, so it's a lot harder to be found in a sea of a lot of people doing what you're doing, I guess. And there's always going to be competition in whatever you're doing, like in art, theater, craft, I don't know, whatever entrepreneurial venture you're going for, but yeah, doing things online, you have access to a much wider group of people, but you also have a lot more competition doing what you're doing. So I just want my character here fretting with all of his devices in hand. Or looking sad. Nice. Moustache. I've just changed my concept for this one. There was recently a um, graffiti artist in New York um, who did stuff in the same style as Banksy, and Banksy posted his image, and the image was of him doing his stuff in the similar style, and with a red notification bar where he had 0 likes, followers, or subscribers, and I think that's kind of very relatable. Domesticbot Gaming, this is not a drawing challenge. I'm just putting out some art advice that I've just come up in my brain over the last few days, if you like. And trying to narrate the whole process as well, what's going through my head while I'm trying to do this. So, what it was a red notification bar, which means I have to change the color format of the panel, pick myself something similar to that notification bar. One sec, I just realized the scrolling text at the bottom is a bit too white compared to the canvas, so I will change that. Yeah, I might have to do it next time because I don't want to destroy the stream, and I think OBS Labs has already had quite enough. Okay, in any case, taken to note, I will continue doing what I'm doing here. Likes. And followers. Alright, but just know you can still make a living from your craft. You'll have to work hard for it. And this one's, I guess, in stark contrast to what people might think creating stuff online is like. I mean, you hear of all of these overnight successes, like, I don't know, if you're a game developer, then Flappy Bird, or whatever. Like, you only hear of the successes, and most people think that it's overnight, but it's not overnight. Most of those people who got that overnight success worked many, many years for it. So, oops, colors. That's right. Width. Concept for this one is just something that my character's drawn, and he's looking proud of himself. Bit with a few sweat marks. That is true. But they're all solvable problems. There's always a reason, I think, anyhow. There's always a way to fix the problem at hand. The hardest part is knowing what you're doing wrong or coming up with new tactics. Like I'm streaming, for example, and that's something that I wasn't doing, 2 weeks ago. It's about trying new things. I'm gonna pull up the Mona Lisa as reference here. Just do a little caricature of her. As in, you guys won't see the Mona Lisa, but it's on my other monitor. Sorry. Yeah, I've managed to capture most of it. Well, I'm happy with it anyway. Did something happen to the music? 1 second. Nope. It's starting up again. Thanks, Domestabot Gaming. Yeah, I created that image in my last stream. Yeah, it was just a bit of fun. There. Okay, so in this one I'm not happy with the line width on the character, so I will change that. Just a bit too thick. Mental note to myself, is to do something that doesn't rely so much on line, because that's one thing that I would like to move away from, is an over-reliance on line. And I do like my lines. And when I'm doing my digital paintings and stuff, then I can move away from them, but I don't know. I did grow up doing a lot of comics. I drew a lot of comics when I was younger, and line is one of the crucial elements of making a comic, and you can probably see that in my style today. Anyway, alright, I'll leave that one for now. Can work on it later. Panel 6. You'll learn to paint when nobody's watching and entertain a crowd of none, all while doing what it takes to keep your passion going. Now, my idea for this one was to... Okay, so to be honest, I had been considering taking up gainful employment again, and not as a full-time um, worker, but something in the part-time field. And I've been looking, and there's a lot of part-time positions available for software developers. And what that would mean is that I'd have half of the week to work on my own things, half of the week to work at the company wherever I'm working. But it would take a lot of stress off of paying the bills, paying for rent and health insurance, which is a huge thing here in Germany. Yeah, it's an idea that I've been toying with for a while. And like I said, it's not a point of failure. I don't want to see being an employee as failure. It's hopefully something that I choose to do. I mean, there are people who don't even have employment who can't find employment. And yeah, I recognize how privileged I am to be able to do this, to have the opportunity to plunge into the world of art, I guess, full time. Anyway, the concept for this one was to have someone working a job during the day, but delving into their passion at night. And that's what it takes sometimes. So during the day, maybe my character here does have to work a job. Taco Bell or whatever, serving customers. Um, Need more reference. 1 second. Like either Taco Bell or Starbucks. And I'm gonna see what's easier. Starbucks for sure. They've got an iconic green apron, which you just can't escape. Okay, very good. One sec. And we're back. Alright, so there's my character serving coffee at Starbucks. I'm going to separate these layers, but just it makes sense if I do end up actually coloring them in, then it will make sense to have separate layers. And here he is now working on his passion project at night. Oops. No, an artist, that's his beret. And I have a window because I will put the moon out there, and that should be enough to communicate the nighttime versus daytime. Okay, final panel. This is going to be an echo of the first panel to wrap things up. Basically, it'll be the same character in the same outfit, but just feeling a bit prouder of himself. What happened to my layers? There they are. Very good. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for that one. And one thing that I'm still getting used to is the whole digital art again, and trying not to edit too much, make things a bit too perfect. Yeah, that's one thing I do prefer with traditional art. But it's a new medium and I'm still getting used to it. So I think in the long run it'll pay dividends because, yeah, you really can do a lot more with digital art. You can go over your stuff again and again, which is an advantage and a disadvantage. It's just learning when to stop. Right. So I want to be putting in the little splashes of color, but nothing too much. So, by color I mean black right now. Hair and mustache. Hair and mustache. And if there's one candidate that's gonna get actual full-on rendering, then this one's it, because I can show during the day that he's working at Starbucks, and at night, with some cool lighting from the moon in coming through the window, yeah, there's potential there. I mean, in any case, I want to be adding a little bit of color anyhow. In fact, I'll go to the start and change this one again. So to make this a bit more like the final one, I'm going to change the camera shot to be a bit more close up. It makes it easier as well. Okay, just evening up the lines, thickening those ones on that side. Cool. Back to the coloring. Or in this case, putting in blacks. So this is one that I think needs a bit of work. I'm gonna try a completely different camera angle. Mustache away. And that is the fun thing about being a comic artist. Or just an artist in general, because, well, no comic artist, because with a comic artist, you're doing the casting, you're doing the camera direction, you're doing the writing. So I'm doing a top-down shot here. This is also an exercise in perspective, which is nice. But that is one advantage of digital art. You can just try on a different layer and see how it works. Try out those ideas. Also, a pretty intentional choice to have the canvas tilted, or the camera angle tilted, because that does imply that something's wrong. There's a really good book about all this, like framing and composition stuff. Framed Ink, I think it's called. I mean, it's not the only one, but there's several of them. But yeah, slightly off angle shots will tend to imply that something's wrong. And I've got it top down so I can show a bit more chaos in the scene. Like papers and bills, which I'm going to have a stack of over here. Have a stapler. Some stationery just lying around. Maybe everyone's saying overdue because... Or due. Come on. Yeah, that is a good point. Something to eat, something to drink. This is all stuff you need to think about composing a scene to make it believable. I mean, obviously this is no like movie script, but a cup of ramen noodles. It's so hard to get the top-down perspective when you're not really. It's pretty complicated in there, but we'll leave it at that. And a pile of receipts here. Hmm. I think that'll do. That's a pretty complex scene already. Pop that in the middle. I'm going to change the body language because it's not quite showing what I want it to show, which is struggle. So he's just going to be grasping for his head there. Yeah, but that's the humor of it. I mean, he's also wearing a hat and a mustache, and it's just a visual cue. It's kind of just communication language. Alrighty. Exactly. That's exactly it. Um, hmm. The coaster. Anyway, so yeah, I think that expresses a bit more financial difficulty than the previous one, which was kind of a low shot underneath or from the desk perspective onto the character. This one communicates a bit more chaos, a bit more of the character, I guess. Although that's not entirely necessary for a short comic like this. Alright, continuing what I originally wanted to do here, which is get in some of the blacks. This one's fine. This one can use some blacks. Okay, to close out the stream, I'm just gonna start putting some colors into this panel here because this is one of my favorite ones. It really shows the necessity and yeah, just what an artist I guess has to do. Pay the bills, but also continue to pursue what he wants. And I think this is probably what most people do, even if it's not art. It's like work the day job, but then do something they love in the evenings when they're at home. So, of course, it might not be art with a hat and a mustache, but I think this is probably what most people do. Or what life probably looks like to most people looking at this. Alright, Starbucks green, let's go. Bring up that reference. It's actually a bit aqua. Like that. Right, so it's just done that because the gaps are a bit too large between the lines. So I'll color that in manually and then fill it in. Get the layers right. Mm-hmm. That's daytime. Create a new folder for it so it's all together. Get the layers in the right order. Good. Right now, I can confirm I am. It's the only way that I can do this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't have a beret and I don't have a mustache. But as I said, these are visual cues. Well, they're not, they're caricatures really. They're just caricatures of what people tend to think of artists. Okay, this is a nighttime scene, so there's going to be a few more cooler colors in here. And that's the wrong reference layer, so because I had them on two separate ones. And just some gray tones for the paper and the table, and it should be enough. All right, that's it for this panel. I'm gonna end the stream there. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you are not following me, then please do so. It helps me, it supports me. And yeah, we'll see you again next time. If you're interested, I also play Scribble with my mates. That's every Tuesday um, at 9 p.m. Western Standard Time as a GMT plus 8. Anyway, I'll post the, yeah, follow Pokoluxa because that's where we do it. And yeah, until next time, then see you later.